What's up, Tackle Warehouse fans? Jake here, bringing you this week's episode of What's WNTW. We're getting into that mid-March time. It's the time to be out there fishing. I mean, I know some of you guys up north, you might still be iced in a little bit, still really cold. Don't worry, I got a couple baits for you as well. So, if you're into throwing swim baits, we got a bunch of new ones from 13 Fishing, and now's the time. Get out there before it gets too hot. The Swimbait bite is, around that March time, some of the best that it's ever going to be throughout the whole year. So the first couple we got here are the new 13 Coalition baits. We got this bluegill and the BAMF Shad, and these are the new wedge tails. What's cool about these is these are both weedless design baits. So on the inside, it's got a full cavity on there. It's got a hook slot on top. So these are made to hold like a screw lock style swim bait hook. So they fit right in there. They're already pre-cut. They got nice hook channels, so they're going to sit, the weight and everything's going to sit right in there, and you're not going to have any issues with hook penetration or anything like that. I mean, these baits are awesome. If you just take them out of the package, you can see all the detailing on them, the fins, the 3D eyes, the scales, the colors, the paint jobs. I mean, they took a lot of time to make these baits look really, really good. That wedge tail design on there is just going to have that nice subtle kicking action. It's going to be just a lot more natural than some of your like boot tail style tails that are out there on the market. And another thing that they've incorporated into the packaging on these is they come with a couple small nose anchors. So when you get that screw lock, that corkscrew into the nose in there, we all know you run it into some cover, you catch a few fish, you can tear it up. Those nose anchors actually go between the screw lock and the plastic just to help hold all that together and just give you a little bit more durability for these baits. We got them in a bunch of awesome colors. You definitely want to check these out if you have a lake where you have those big gizzard shad. I mean, that's going to be the one. And of course, anywhere that there's a bluegill, you want to check out all the bluegill colors. With a lot of fish spawning this time of the year, that bluegill is going to be an awesome little bed bait. You might want to run it on like a lighter weight hook, or even one that's almost weightless, so it kind of just flutters right down to that bed. This is going to be one that's going to piss off a lot of big bass and catch a lot of big bed fish. The next one, so if you like to throw trout swim baits, if you're maybe in California or other places where they stock a lot of trout, especially through the winter, this is going to be the one you want to check out. I mean, I love throwing big trout swim baits like this, and 13 has done an awesome job of just kind of going through the details and putting a lot of things that a lot of swim bait anglers are already doing, customizing baits. They're doing it themselves, so it's ready to fish right out of the package. So this is a big bait. It's 9 inches, it weighs 5.5 ounces, so you need a specialized setup for this. You can't throw this on your flipping stick or something like that. You need a full dedicated swim bait rod, heavy line, big reel, the whole 9 yards. What's cool about this bait, it's got that big jig hook up on the front, and then as you can see, it's got that accessory eyelet right behind that, so you can attach your stinger hooks to that. And one of the things that I really, really like about this bait is they actually incorporated a split dorsal fin, so that your wire, your braid, whatever you're going to run down to your trailer hook is going to run right between there. It's going to be hidden, and it's going to stay perfectly straight. On other baits out on the market, you got to run it to one side or the other. Sometimes you can affect the swimming action a little bit. And then as you can see right here behind the dorsal fin, there's a magnet and there's a hook slot. So, one end of the treble hook can go right down there in that hook slot, and that magnet's going to hold it all perfectly in place, keep everything straight and in line, which is an awesome idea. I can't even explain or express, how much of a lifesaver that is. I don't know how many swim baits I have where I have a trailer hook rigged up in this exact kind of style, and the back of the bait back here is just torn up, from the treble hook going in and out, and then using staples or parts of paper clips to pin everything down, and it's just more material back there that doesn't look as natural. This is going to keep everything streamlined, flush, and as much of it hidden as possible. Super, super cool. Again, with the big wedge tail on there, super slow kicking action, just like a live trout. And I really like the shape and profile that they did on this thing. It looks like a trout that just came out of the back of a truck, real, slim little trout. They put a lot of details into this one as well with the gills and the paint jobs. It's not overly gaudy or anything like that. Just an awesome new swim bait there from 13 Fishing. Make sure to check all these out. All right, so new crankbaits. So if you're in that if you're still in that cold water time of the year, got a couple for you. The first one is the new Rapala OG tiny crankbait. So, a few years ago, the OG Slim came out. It was designed by Ott, hugely successful bait. Now we got something that's just a little bit smaller. Kind of the same fundamentals as the OG Slim. It's a thin balsa wood, flat-sided crankbait, and it's got a small circuit board lip on there. It's just a smaller profile, a little bit different shape. It's got the line tie right on the nose there. So this thing's gonna have just a super finesse, subtle, quivering action when it goes through the water. Deadly during the cold times of the year. So if you live a little bit farther north and the fish are just starting to come up, I mean, that crankbait is gonna be deadly, especially, you know, the red crawfish color, you know, perfect for the springtime situation if you're in that area right now. Down on the hooks, they come with the VMC hybrid hooks on there, so everything's ready to go right out of the package. You don't have to upgrade any of the hardware or anything like that. It's ready to fish. Just an awesome crankbait. You know, Ott was trying to achieve kind of that shad wrap style of action with this bait. Really, you know, really tight, subtle wiggling action, but just in a different profile, more of a shad. And I believe we have like 19 or 20 colors. So we have, you know, your bluegills, shads, crawfish, chartreuse, whatever you need, they got it for you. You know, it's a small bait. Gets you about 3 to 4 feet, weighs 5/16 of an ounce. You can throw it on light bait casting equipment, or you can throw it on a spinning rod as well. Awesome new crankbait there from Rapala. So we got a few things from Jackall. The first one, another kind of cold water bait, gonna be another blade bait. This is the new knocking jaw blade bait from Jackall. Pretty cool design as well, and this one's something that's a little bit different than all the other blade baits I've seen on the market. You can see, you know, just by holding on the snap, how much weight is forward on this thing. You know, it's pretty heavy for its size. You know, the big jaw on the front, you know, that's the unique part about this bait. What that's gonna do is help aid in the vibration. It's gonna increase the amount of vibration when you snap this thing up. But when you're retrieving this thing along the bottom, that jaw is actually meant to kind of run into cover and knock into things and give more feedback up the line of what your bait's doing down on the bottom. So if you're running it into grass, if you run it into wood, rocks, you know, over gravel bars, whatever, you're just gonna get more feedback from that lip right there. So you kind of know what you're fishing over, if you know you're in the zone or if you're not in the zone. Up top, it's got the 3 different line ties. So just like a lot of other blade baits on the market, you can adjust the amount of vibration from, you know, super subtle to really aggressive, depending on what you want. If you're gonna be doing cast and retrieving, or you're gonna be doing some vertical jigging, you know, tune it into whatever you need. It's got the backwards double hooks on there that are sticky sharp. The backwards double hook's really nice too. When you're going over cover, you're really gonna fish these things along the bottom, along structure. They slide over it really well and don't get snagged up as easy. The next one we got, new big bait from Jackall. This one's pretty cool. This is the new Blast Bone swim bait. You know, when I first took this thing out of the package, I thought it was gonna be more of a wake bait, but it's actually almost like a giant square bill crankbait. So it does fish right below the surface. It is a slow floater, so you can get it to wake if you hold your rod tip up high and you get it a little bit slower of retrieve. But when you start cranking it, it's gonna go down just a couple of feet and you can fish this thing over coverage, like a big oversized square bill crankbait. I mean, that bill on there, it's gonna ricochet off rocks and get some great deflections. What's also cool about this bait, it's got the soft tail, so you're gonna get a lot more action out of it. But other things you can do with it, you can just twitch the bait and it'll actually walk the dog underwater. So, you know, it's perfectly tuned and balanced, so you can snap it and walk it. So you can do a couple different retrieves in, you know, one cast. You can reel it, you can walk it. When you pause it, it's just gonna slowly float, so you almost get some of that like suspending jerkbait style of action out of it. And then right here in the middle, it's got an accessory eyelet. So if you want to, you can add weight to it and you can actually sink this thing down a little bit deeper. So if you want to fish a little bit deeper structure with that faster winding motion, you can do that with this bait. You know, premium components, paint jobs, just like everything from Jackall, super sharp treble hooks, just you know, awesome detailing on the head up here, all the different paint jobs. I mean, these style of swim baits are becoming like all the rage. We're getting more and more of them. Now Jackall's got one for you. I believe it comes in at $37.99. It's a sweet bait from Jackall that we just got in. The last one we got here, another kind of JDM style bait. This is the new Honey Nugget creature bait. So this bait is actually specifically designed for free rig applications. And what they did with this bait is they're trying to mimic like a bluegill and a crawdad at the same time. So when you throw it out on a free rig, that weight's gonna sink straight to the bottom, and this bait is gonna chase it on the way down, you know, head first, and those legs are gonna kick like crazy. When the weight hits the bottom and the weight's not pulling it down anymore, this bait's actually gonna stop and level out and go into more of a horizontal fashion. So they've done a lot of testing with the amount of salt that they've put in this thing. So whenever it levels out, it's gonna sink and kind of fall in that horizontal style, like a soft stick bait, like a Cinco or something like that. So you're kind of getting multiple actions in one. It kind of mimics a couple different things in one package as well. Just a sweet little bait. I mean, everything's getting, you know, fish are getting harder to catch with more people out there on the water. You know, the free rig is starting to become more and more popular in the United States. Definitely something you want to check out. We got these in a couple sizes and a bunch of different colors. Just an awesome little creature bait if you're doing the free rig. It's also loaded with scent, so it's got that squid Kitech, you know, loaded up with scent in it too as well. Next one we got here from Savage Gear. This one is actually won the best to show saltwater lure at the ICAST show. This is the new Savage Gear Duratech Crab, the ready to fish crab. You know, ready to fish, you know, it's pre-rigged, it's got a jig molded into it, and it's got a nice saltwater HD hook on there. It's made out of their Duratech material, so super, super strong. That Duratech, it's kind of like Elastec, same kind of principles, where this stuff, it's gonna be able to take a beating, especially in saltwater when you're dealing with a lot of toothy critters out there. This thing's gonna be able to hold up to that. It's actually infused with some scent. When you pull it out of the package, you can smell it. It smells like some nasty crabs or shrimp or whatever they put in this thing. So if you fish anywhere inshore where the fish feed on crustaceans, small crabs, you know, that's going to be an awesome one to throw. This is the biggest of the 3 sizes that we have, and it weighs ½ an ounce. So you can really chuck this thing out there on a spinning rod if you really want to. You know, we're excited to throw this thing here. Some of the guys locally, we're going to take some of those smaller sizes, go use them for some surf perch, just something a little bit different and just perfectly mimic those little sand crabs that are out there. You know, sweet little bait there from Savage Gear. All right, last up, we got a couple, not last up, got some terminal pieces to go over with you, kind of in the bait section here. So from Northland Tackle, we got the new Lite-Bite weighted bobber. So again, you know, the cold time of the year is when a lot of guys are throwing, you know, the floating flies and other presentations like that. These new weighted bobbers, you know, just add a little bit of weight just to make them easier to cast. If you've ever thrown, you know, a floating fly, especially if you're using like a fixed leader, it's especially difficult to throw. With the sliding one, it's a little bit easier, but even then, if you have some kind of wind or anything like that, the weight's just gonna help out tremendously just to get a little bit more distance on your cast and a little bit easier to manage those kinds of rigs. You know, if you're just out, you know, taking kids out to do some worm fishing, pan fishing, whatever, these are great too. It just helps people cast a little bit farther. We got these in multiple different sizes as well. Just some new, some weighted bobbers there from Northland Tackle. The last little piece of terminal we got, actually something I'm super pumped about, from Owner. This is the Owner CPS Spring Slim. So the CPS Spring is great for like your weedless swim bait hooks and, you know, rigging up your teasers on your umbrella rigs. Now with this CPS Slim, so it's made out of a thinner gauge wire and there's less coils in it. And the reason for that is for rigging up any of those kind of Elastec or, you know, polymer Duratech style of plastics. If you've ever tried to thread one of those things onto like a jig head or into a regular screwed lock, it's not the easiest task. The first time I did it, I messed up the swim bait so bad and couldn't get it up on the jig head. And this is just gonna make it easier to rig those styles of plastic. So if you're looking to outfit, you know, like a weedless swim bait hook, but you wanna upgrade maybe the screw lock that's on there and you wanna fish those styles of plastics from, you know, there are a bunch of companies make them now, Z-Man, Spro, Savage Gear. You can get some of those plastics and a little bit easier to rig them as well. Just, you know, we got them in all the sizes and multiple sizes, multiple pack quantities as well. So if you're looking for a new screw lock for those plastics, you know, just to make life a little easier, CPS Slim is gonna be the way to go. All right, so we looked at a bunch of baits. What are we gonna put this stuff in? We got some new storage options here from Plano. The first one here is the new Plano 3700 in the Edge series, the Jig Spy. So they designed this box specifically for holding your spy baits and kind of your ice jigs and those long kind of, you know, those long jig style of baits. Sometimes, especially with the spy baits, you know, they have so many little parts on them and the little treble hooks. When you dump them in a 3700, they get all tangled up. They're a mess, you know, and those big ice jigs, you know, it's just heavy chunks of lead. They're always rattling around and beating each other up. You can break, you know, you can break off the wings on them and stuff like that. This is gonna hold everything in place. You know, just extending the edge line itself. You know, they have the waterproof seal around there, easy latch opening on there, and then they have the rust technology in there so that it prevents any kind of rust or stuff like that happening on your hooks and hardware and stuff that's in the box. So if you need like a spy bait box, that's gonna be the one for you. And then we got a new line management box from Plano. So the Edge line management box. This is a super cool box for storing your line and kind of manage and spooling your reels up as well. So on the inside, it's got 2 stations in here. So you can hold a couple of bulk spools or you can hold up to 12 filler spools. And it comes with these the tensioners on there. So when you put the line in there, you don't have to worry about the line coming uncoiled and making a whole mess in there. And then you can tighten it down, and you can have the right amount of tension on the spool when you're actually spooling your reels up. So when you're spooling your reels up, you have that tension on there, your line's gonna go on there nice and tight, and you're not gonna get any loops or kind of loose line down in the spool when you're spooling up. So, great for the garage. You can travel with this. It's small enough that you can still fit in a boat compartment, just easy way to store your line, keep it nice and organized, spool up, and take it with you, put it in the boat, put it in the garage, whatever you want. It's a pretty dialed little box there from Plano. The last one we got up, so saving the best for last here. So we got a new reel from Daiwa. This is the new Daiwa Steez CT SV TW 70 size. So it is a mouthful. And if you know anything about the Steez lineup, this is Daiwa's flagship lineup of reels. And this new 70 CT size is specifically made for the smaller, more finesse style of bait application. So super, super small. I believe it weighs just over 5 ounces. It's incredibly light. Fits in your palm really, really nicely. It's a super compact reel and made to throw really, really small baits. What's great about this reel is it comes with a magnesium frame and side plates. So even though it's lightweight, it's still super, super strong and powerful. And where they get all this casting performance with the Lite-Baits is they're combining the SV spool with the air brake in it, as well as the T-wing system. So, with the T-wing, you're gonna disengage the reel, and it's gonna open up that line flow on there. It's just gonna reduce the angle that the line has to travel to go out of the spool. And then the spool itself is a lighter weight material. Since it's smaller, it's a 70 size, and it has the air brake in there as well. So when you cast, it has less inertia in it, so you can throw a smaller weight lure, and since it's flying through the air at lower speeds than like a heavier weight lure is, that spool is not going to pick up speed and have more centrifugal force as you would with a larger spool that's loaded up with line. So since it's shallow, it doesn't have as much line on it, not as much weight, it's not going to get going as fast and create backlashing, which is the problem with lightweight lures. So with that smaller spool on there, again, with that air brake in there, that when it starts to spin, that air brake takes over. It manages the spool speed as the lure is flying through the air to reduce or pretty much eliminate any kind of backlash with lightweight lures. It does have the braking system right here on the bottom, kind of out of the way, not on the palm side plate, so it's more comfortable, a little bit more sleek looking. Another thing with this reel, it's got Daiwa's hyperdrive system in there. So the hyperdrive consists of a few different elements. One is their digi gear, so you do have a more robust gear that's in this reel. It's a little bit wider and it has finer cut teeth in there. So with the finer cut teeth, there's more contact points and more surface area between the gears when you're reeling it. So you don't feel anything at all when you're reeling this. You don't feel any gears engaging. It's super, super smooth. I mean, it just feels like you're reeling air. It's incredible. They do have a double supported gear in there as well. So when your reel is underneath a heavy load, you don't have to worry about the gears torquing and getting misaligned. So they're going to stay perfectly straight and in contact and mesh with each other the whole time. So you can crank heavy on a fish, and you're going to continue to have all that torquing, that cranking power in there, because everything's not going to get out of line. You got the hyper clutch on there. This is a reinforced clutch system. And it does something that's different about this finesse reel than some of the other finesse reels on the market. It still has a 90mm handle with bigger knobs on it. So it still has like a standard size reel handle on it. It doesn't have a little tiny handle with little baby knobs on it. And some of the Daiwa Pro Staff guys are actually using this reel to flip and pitch. Makes a lot of sense. If you're flipping and pitching, you really don't need that much line. I mean, you can probably get, 40, 50 yards of 20 pound on there. And with that, you're not going to be able to, with the lighter weight reel, when you're flipping and pitching all day, that lighter weight reel is going to reduce fatigue throughout the day. And this thing's built like a tank, so you're still going to have all that power. You still have a big, a cranking handle on there, so you're not going to be lacking with the little knobs or anything like that. So if you're looking for like a little flip and pitch reel where you just need, just a little shot of line on there, that's going to be another application for this reel as well. Just awesome new Steez 70 here from Daiwa. All right, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of What's New at Tackle Warehouse. For more information or to purchase any of these products seen here today, make sure to click shop or the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this week's video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, let us know in the comments which one of these products you're most pumped about.